GamesIndustry.biz are reporting that The Last of Us Part 2 has smashed UK sales records. That's the headline they're going with. Smash them. Congratulations to Neil Cuckman and Naughty Poochie Pie for that. So how much did they smash the UK sales record by? Which, by the way, was previously held by Uncharted 4. They smashed it by 1%. 1%. Smash! Hi everyone, it's The Last of Us Part 2 here from The Last of Us Part 2. And in today's Last of Us Part 2 video, I'm going to be discussing The Last of Us Part 2. Don't worry, I'm going to be dealing with some comic stuff tomorrow, and it's very interesting. And there is a review up, which I put out earlier today for Stargirl Season 1, Episode 6. Which does contain some weird stuff, if I do even say so myself. So this is coming from GamesIndustry.biz. And they're running with the heading of The Last of Us Part 2 smashes sales records UK charts. It beats Uncharted 4 to become Sony's fastest selling PlayStation 4 game. The Last of Us Part 2 has shot to the top of the UK box charts in significant fashion. The action horror game is Sony's fastest selling release this generation, narrowly beating shot to the top of the charts, smashing sales records by narrowly beating Uncharted 4 from 4 years ago by 1%. Even though there's been significantly more PlayStation 4 sales in that period of time, it just managed to garner 1% more than Uncharted by smashing UK box sales. Also, I just want to jump here. Shot to the top of the UK charts. Let's just... There were no other releases this week. Okay. Now, I'm not trying to diminish the sales, okay? It set a record, but I think it was always destined to do so. This game has been waited upon for 7 years. That's one of the reasons why there's such an outcry and there's such a lot of disappointment out there. Because they had to wait 7 years, and this will contain spoilers, folks. So if you don't want spoilers, step away now. They had to wait 7 years for Joel to have his head smashed in within 2 hours of the game. A 25-hour game. Now, I said, and I've said this in many forms of media, you can go back and check. I said, I think this is going to sell well. I think this is going to sell really well. Because, again, there's too many normies out there. There's too many normies that don't come to websites, don't come to YouTube channels, that will just think, Last of Us, sequel, gonna purchase. Not even a consideration. It's a no-brainer. And I can fully understand that, because up until Troy Baker opened his mouth and said, hey guys, you need to keep an open mind about this sequel, which started to trigger alarm bells. And when the leaks came out, which absolutely 100% came from either an existing or former employee of Naughty Dog, ain't no bones about that. Don't believe a single solitary word that you heard with that put together mass media campaign that Sony and Naughty Dog worked on, or the fact that they desperately tried to destroy people's careers, like my own, by copyright striking and threatening to pull down their YouTube channels for reporting on the leaks. Never mind all of that. This was a much anticipated game of a beloved franchise. The first game is beloved. Whenever you hear me talk about the first one, it's always in a positive light because it was a superb game. But the sequel, different kettle of fish altogether. And although this has had a really good spike in initial sales, you do have to look at little things like that. Uncharted 4 came out in 2016. This has been 4 years removed from there. There's been a significant number of PlayStation 4 shifted in that period, and it just beat it by 1%. Maybe that's just a little bit telling. However, I will say one thing though. In those 4 years, digital sales will have significantly increased as well. So there's a good chance that the digital sales of The Last of Us Part 2 will probably dwarf those of Uncharted 4. So I've got to give credit where credit's due. However, as I said, I always anticipated that this was going to be a big seller initially. But I think, and judging by the response out there, judging by the Twitch channels that you've seen, and I've seen big Twitch streamers, I should really say, big Twitch streamers massively disappointed with this game. They're playing it through because that's their job. But they are not really particularly enjoying this experience. They're just kind of going through. Is this a game that's going to get repeat value? I wouldn't say so. To a select few, sure. But mainstream? Nah. This is a one and out if you even finish the damn thing. And because of the reaction and the reaction around the internet, I've got a feeling that sales, although they have got off to an absolute rocket of a start, they're going to come crashing down real quickly. Let me just pull up this from Australia. This is really interesting indeed. It talks about The Last of Us Part 2. The game's filled with shocking and graphic moments, but the most dividing plot element happens roughly a quarter of the way through the game. It's not. It's way earlier than that. I'm talking about Joel. However, Australia's largest games retailer, JB Hi-Fi, are reportedly not accepting any more returns of The Last of Us Part 2 and have temporarily suspended trade-ins during the game's release. So jumping to this image, we have dear customers, by the way, surrounded by The Last of Us Part 2, which is to be expected. That's the big game. In light of recent events, we've had to change a few things. We will temporarily be suspending games trade-ins until further notice. We apologise for any inconvenience. Some people said it's COVID related. It's not COVID related. We're balls deep in COVID. In actual fact, we're pulling out of COVID right now. So this is not COVID related in terms of that. This has come at a moment where this game has come out, which seems pretty telling to me. It seems like they're really trying to cover themselves. Now, I've checked on the UK, and the UK are currently the mainstream game outlets, which is Game. There's also another one, CEX. Those outlets are currently offering both cash and trade-in for this game, but I'm keeping an eye on what the actual price is. And I'm going to check in, let's say, in a week's time and see if it's been affected. Because if it has gone down, that says there's a lot of copies of the game which are getting traded in. And I think that's what's going to happen really quickly indeed. And without this game having any sort of multiplayer buffer, this is a single-player game and ergo could lose its value exceedingly quickly in the current climate of video games. Now, another thing that I want to touch on is Cockers. That tweet's unavailable because that employee of Naughty Dog blocked me. It's okay. We've got, what's a jiggy? Windows to look in, incognito windows to look in. But this was in relation to rumours of the game. This member of Naughty Dog, who blocked me because Naughty Dog tried to end my livelihood, so fuck you, Naughty Dog, was saying that there's a rumour going around that we were forced to watch graphic violence so we could replicate it. Whatever. The rumours go around about all kinds of stuff. But Cockers, I'm so glad that he decided to chime in, because this guy is the most defensive pussy on the planet right now. This guy is losing his mind. He's putting all kinds of passive-aggressive shit out there. He's engaging in shit which he just should leave alone. Look at Kojima-san. Learn from him about restraint. But he's making himself look like a complete arse at the moment. So he chimes in with maybe the same sources as you fight against homophobic Christians. Yeah, that was a rumour. Is that a game-breaking rumour or a massive rumour? Nah, not so much. But you can understand why. They were sort of militantly dressed in raincoats, all white, obviously, shaved heads and whatnot. Yeah, you can understand why somebody would try and make the association. It wasn't true, fine. It was just another crazy faction in your Psycho game. Or that Anita worked on our game. Well, that's a bit disingenuous, isn't it, actually, cuckers? Because there was definitely contact between you and Anita. We know that. She did visit you at least once at Naughty Dog. We do also know from your own presentation that you took notes and prompts from Feminist Frequency. So you are showing by your own admission some sort of involvement, whether it be direct or passive, that had an influence on your title. So there's a little bit disingenuous. Or that Abby is trans. I'm so glad that you brought this one up, Neil, because by this you're now absolutely 100% confirming that Abby is female, and you can't use the trans shield, which I was pretty sure you were going to use at some point in time. And again, this is Neil trying not to let himself open to criticism, because when we've seen the character of Abby, when we've seen the way that they've portrayed her, nobody could be dismissed for thinking that this was a trans character. By the way, they created Abby. So this guy, again, being a little bit disingenuous, naughty cuckers, or that I was scanned and mocapped anything in the game. Well, there's definitely a Cuckers self-insert. Make no bones about it. There's a guy that looks exactly like Cuckers. Whether he was scanned or not, irrelevant. That's Cuckers. But there was a funny joke going around that in the sex scene between Abby and Soyman, that he motion capped both characters. It was immediately laughed off for exactly what it was. Silly rumour. But that's just it. A normal person laughs this kind of shit off. Cuckers, it's getting under his skin, because his magnus opus, his game that he thought everyone would be kissing his ass, that everybody would be saying, "Hey Neil, you're way better than Hideo Kojima ever could be. How could we ever doubt you?" is being thoroughly dragged over the coals, and it's eating him alive. Tell you what, it's not going to eat this game company alive, because they're not going to accept any copies in. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.